You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Falling Skies After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Falling Skies After Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, fellow human beings of the Earth, to another Falling Skies After Show, Season 4, Episode 2, The Eye. I think we all know why it is called The Eye. We, like the people in the show, have all been kind of divided into factions. I am in the corner engineering. I have Roya, Taheri.
Hello, everybody. I didn't get rid of Nando, I swear, just because he's not here, I promise.
Nando will be back. The clan, the Mason clan, will be back together, but not today. Nando is missing. He is in action somewhere else. We'll see him shortly. Roya, overall impressions of tonight's episode?
At the end of the episode, I was not really sure what to think, because I don't know, Lexi really makes me sad, because I don't know if she's dealing with someone good or dealing with someone bad. And as someone mentioned in the episode, she's young, she's naive. Ben mentioned that. We don't know what her intentions might be. And I don't know. I'm afraid to get my hopes up for these characters.
Are her powers completely gone at this point?
I don't think so. I think they're still there.
Okay.
Why did you ask that question? Why do you think that?
Well, because she says, hey, you know, I don't want these powers anymore.
But want and having are two different things.
I understand that, but there's bubbles forming. There were.
Maybe that was the trick to get the guy to stand up.
I don't know. But I mean, whenever there's 3 bubbles, that can't be good. I mean, there seems to be a lot of 3s, but there were exactly 3 bubbles.
Yeah, it looks like her necklace.
Yeah. The
Trinity.
So, I don't know what that's about. Might as well dive into this storyline.
Yeah, sorry.
Lourdes is still as crazy as ever. Even though she's had this removed, she is a believer, and we are all non-believers. I'm certainly a non-believer.
I am too.
And what's weird is, as we'll talk about the Ant storyline, but we know that we're in the West. So we're not just in Chinatown. We're in the Western Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this all means. I don't know where it fits into the... obviously, we understand the Svitek plan now. We're building a power grid for offense. What that means, I don't know. None of this ever makes sense to me.
Everything's better in the West. I mean, Fido went West, and that was good for him and his family, sort of. But...
But what does it mean? Are they just avoiding these people? Obviously, she has a direct connection to aliens.
Mm-hmm.
She has alien blood, let alone whoever she's talking to.
Yeah, now I want to, you brought up the blood. Do you think the blood, it was moving? What do you think that was, if you could make it in scientific terms, what do you think that would be? Because you are a scientist, Phil.
The scientific term would be, I don't think it was moving. I think it got dispersed by her anger.
So it was going with her emotions, and that's why it was moving?
Yeah, it's not like the blood took on, at that moment, a personality of its own. It was forced to move away via her anger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting to note that her anger for wanting peace causes destruction. Does that make sense? It's not almost an oxymoron. In order for her to want peace, she creates damage.
That's true. I can see that. But as Ben mentioned, she was definitely she's naive. She doesn't really know how to control her feelings. So she pulls the whole Storm reaction. You know, when Storm gets all huffy puffy, from X-Men.
I understand. But you know, in terms of Dr. Kadar's theories, what could he have to possibly offer? I mean, last season he came kind of through for us when he needed to. what is he kind of, what's his theory now? And why is Lourdes stopping this? And what is this believer, non-believer?
I honestly don't think Lourdes is in control. I feel that she's the puppet for someone higher that's controlling. We don't know who that person is, hence why they're in the...
So she's being controlled again, though?
I think
go
she
with that
is.
storyline?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm going to go with that storyline because she's crazy now. She's very compulsive and she thinks she's in power when she's not. She's trying to keep things in line, but I don't think she understands why she's doing what she's doing. She's gone. Her main, who she was before, is gone. Lourdes is not the doctor before, as Ben mentions, where you're a doctor, you should understand. That character's gone. So therefore, whoever this new person is, maybe the alien being upset, sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the word, being controlled, being under
Harnessed.
Yes, changed her. Well, she wasn't harnessed. She was just
okay.
drugged or aliened. I don't know what
Sure.
the terminology would be for that. But that changed her. It was in her for so long. Just like the harnessed kids, whoever was harnessed the longest had more side effects than those that weren't.
Okay.
So I think Lourdes is not Lourdes anymore.
How do you feel about the fact that not only is Lourdes controlling, but Lexi seems to want to go to this place of Zen. Remember, when I think of Messiah, let's go to the Matrix. He has to kind of be with his people. You know what I mean? And he's talking with them or whatever else. She wants to get away from the people. It's rather interesting. She just wants, and she even mentions it, there's no crowd here. So what does she want? Just to be alone? That's the part that I don't understand. As the Messiah of this world, she seems to have a complete disattachment from the people.
Well, I feel she knows the power that she has inside her, but she doesn't know how to control it. And so the emotions that she gets from people can bring that power out, and she doesn't know how to control it.
But if they're peaceful and they're, quote, believers, why does that really matter?
But weren't they asking her, when they were standing in line, they wanted to talk to her to ask about their families? Wasn't that what Ben would have had to wait in line to talk to her about?
Is that what it is?
I thought that's what they were trying to do, was get a hold of her and be like, is my family okay? Is everything going to be, trying to stress her out? Because they were waiting in line for something.
I mean, they certainly were.
And Maggie said you can't cut in line.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that one. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? This is probably going to get hated on. Do you think maybe Maggie is involved in whatever happened in those 4 months and she got taken over as well? Do you think maybe she's the brain behind it all? No. Not all of it, but...
Maggie, I'm glad you asked that question because in this episode, Maggie she showed that she was Maggie. She says to Ben, finally I have someone to talk to about this stuff. Because it seemed like she was pulling a Matt in the sense of, go along with the plan, but I don't really believe this BS. And so now that Ben's kind of, poking a stick at everything, she is like, okay, this is the person that I know. Everyone else is crazy here. Thank God I have you to talk to.
That didn't sound like a cover-up? Because that happened to Ben before with Karen, when Karen was quote-unquote found and harnessed, and she was like, Ben, you're the only one that understands me. We get each other. And then she kissed him.
Well, they do kiss each other.
Yeah.
But, okay, I would think we can't reuse storyline after storyline.
No, but there's something fishy with Maggie. I'm so suspicious of them all, but there's something about her that's just not right.
Yes, that can be the case. I don't know. If that is the case and it's literally going to be the same storyline,
yeah,
unless they play it a little bit different, I don't know.
I agree, but that's why this episode was kind of like, I don't know.
I mean, we're building a power grid again, except this time it's for the offense. So I just hope things are a little bit different. Obviously the circumstances are a little bit different, but I just don't want it to be exactly the same.
I agree.
Anyway, is there anything else that we want to talk about this Lexi storyline? Obviously, it's the convergence of many things to come. But so far, I don't know. I don't think she's lost her powers.
Well, she's dying. Lexi is dying. And she knows it.
We don't know how long. But
same thing as Ben. Ben is dying. Remember how they said that harnessed kids or former harnessed kids are going to die younger than if they took off all their abilities?
Although she's not fully human. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see. Like, yes, she ages way faster, but she also, let's say, can't die.
So then the
That would be interesting.
question is, what is dying? Is it her human side, meaning her good side, or her alien side and her bad side?
That's a good question.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll find out. And, I mean, in this timeline, if she is to die, let's go along with that theory. She can die by the end of the season. And what is that? I mean, in 4 months, she's 21. So, how old is she officially? Because she's less than a year. Does that mean 6, 7, 8 months? How many months?
I'm terrible at math.
All right. Well, for the sake of argument, let's say it's been a year.
Okay.
So in 1 year equals 21 years. 20. Let's say 20.
Okay.
Right? For sake of math. So in 2 years, she's going to be 40. Although he did say the spurts are random at times. So I don't know. It can't be. I guess it's not a steady growth, because then 2 years would be 40, 3 years would be 60, 4 years would be 80,
Maybe
5 years would be 100.
Maybe it links in with her emotions.
Okay.
So maybe she was protecting her mother, and that's why she got a growth spurt of being 5 years old when her and her mother came back into the picture. And then when they got separated, Ben got knocked out, or whatever happened to him caused stress that created her to grow even more in those 4 months. And now that time frame, Ben's okay, Ben's gonna be all right, she's steady. And then she had a big old, we saw her tantrum, that's what I call it, her storm tantrum.
But she didn't get older.
But maybe next, yeah, they're not going to age
We're going to
her.
recast?
Yeah. Hey guys, we need a grandma now for Lexi. Well, I mean, maybe big situations cause that big age gap. And maybe it's kind of like the bar fills up.
This was a mini situation.
Yeah.
This wasn't that big a situation.
No,
so.
exactly.
All right. I could go along with that. I could buy into that. Why not get into, let's talk about Anne, who's desperate to see Lexi. And almost she's causing massive amounts of trouble.
She doesn't care who dies that's in her group. She just wants to find Lexi. And I don't know about you, but that scene when she killed the Skitter and the Skitter was still hooked up to Denny, that was, I felt really bad for the Skitter. That was to hear what their thought process is when they're being stabbed and then stabbed again was intense.
It was, and it seemed like it was right around when he was being questioned about Lexi. And so to me it means, at least I feel like they know about Lexi and they know about her superpower and they fear it.
Do they fear it, or are they brainwashed where they can't remember it? Because remember when we get to Tom and up on the ship, the alien makes a comment about the whole, you can't trust Skitters. Skitters are, because of the revolt that they did, they're not good, so they had to do a hybrid of things.
Perhaps that's certainly part of it. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think part of the reason, well, I certainly think they're brainwashed, but I think they're brainwashed, at least in that sense, not to remember Lexi because it's something of importance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll kind of see how that remains. She kept pushing the question. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see her because there's a weird darkness happening. You know, she's always kind of in this odd family dynamic. Tom's been so selfless, and yet Anne has always kind of been selfish for the family's sake. But, I mean, right here, right now, she doesn't really care about anybody else except for Lexi.
Which I still find really weird, as I mentioned last week.
Lexi or Anne?
That Anne's really obsessed with Lexi.
Well, that's her only child, realistically. Like, that's her child. Not like, oh, this is my child, but I didn't birth you.
Yeah, but I don't mean to go back into the same thing as I said last week, but Anne didn't give two craps about Lexi when she was a baby. Anne was freaked out about Lexi. So her whole persona about that changed. And that just weirds me out a little bit there. They randomly come back.
Okay, is Anne smarter than all of us and knows that Lexi in some way is tied to this and she is the key to ending this war?
Or did she crack and is crazy now?
I don't think she. I mean, she's always kind of. If you look at her history, she's always kind of been crazy, to an extent.
True, but she's always had a nice side to her.
No, she's had Tom there to talk and work it out with. 4 months have gone by. There's been no Volm contact for her.
True.
She's now, for lack of a better term, a power-hungry leader.
Yeah.
And there's no stopping her until she gets what she wants. I mean, she was literally shaken up after and was like, I am sorry for what I did in terms of killing, the way she did. I shouldn't have done that while you were connected.
Yeah, she apologized for killing him while she was connected, while Denny was connected, not for killing the skidder.
No, I understand that part of it, but it just goes to show, how far she's turned.
I know it's going to sound really stupid, but it really reminds me of Yoda's quote. He says, anger leads
Yoda says a lot.
Yeah, well, anger leads to hate, or I'm butchering it. Sorry, Star Wars.
Oh my God! If you can get 12% of this quote.
No, I'm not. I'm scared now. No, but it's anger leads to hate, hate leads to darkness. I had an energy drink. I'm cracked out.
Okay, the reason why that's funny is that, not that Star Wars, the first 3 episodes, meaning not the original, but this is why I hate talking about Star Wars.
Do it.
Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Not the original 1, 2, and 3, which are really 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Those 3 are the biggest, weirdest things I've ever seen. And so when Yoda says that quote, hate leads to this, hate the blah 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 blah, it's like
everyone's hating us right now for saying it wrong.
How many things can we connect just to make this work for the plot line of everything that is to come?
For Falling Skies or for Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Well, that was said in...
I understand, but
to Luke.
Anyway.
Anyways, back to...
It does lead that way. And yes, anger leads to farting, which leads to hate, which leads to sleeping, which leads to hungriness, which leads to bloating, whatever. And eventually it causes chaos.
Yes, chaos.
That is, scientists define that as the chaos theory.
Okay. You know what else is going to cause chaos is that we butchered that quote. But you know what? People can comment on YouTube and on iTunes to let us know how it's actually done properly if you'd like.
To be fair, I have no appreciation for the Star Wars.
Stop. Don't talk about Star Wars.
I'm just saying. I don't.
You don't do that.
I don't.
It's like saying Star Wars and Star Trek are the same thing. You don't do that.
I'm not saying they're the same thing. I actually appreciate Star Trek.
And guys, so you can rate us on iTunes if you're a Star Trek fan or if you're a Star Wars fan.
I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Or Falling
always,
Skies.
Forever, and always.
Okay. Fair. That's fair.
I don't care how many Jedis I hurt along the way as long as I get my goal of getting Lexi.
Okay. And do you think Anne is going to find Lexi?
I mean, it's converging in on itself, and the way not to get too far into predictions and all that, but the way next episode is designed, it seems like they're coming to a head.
Okay.
And I mean, she has to, because how long can we keep kind of, unless they find and stumble onto the kids' Nazi camp, which I guess we can get into right after this, there's not much there for them to kind of just track, So ultimately, but ironically, I do think they're going to stumble upon the kids first before they get to the West. Like, that was the weirdest thing in the world, the West.
But if they do, they're going to run into the Volm. Because Volm, he's supposed to be finding their son, Matt, for Tom.
Yes. I don't know if it'll be interesting. Yeah, so that's going to be
if it's in the West. If it's East,
what is this West?
They're going west.
By the way, I loved how I'm so glad that in the writing they gave Anne that line of the West. What are you talking about? Because it's exactly how we felt.
Yeah, I thought it was the subtitles going wrong because it really was going wrong on the subtitles. I was like, West, is that really what they're saying? And they kept repeating West. I'm like, all right, it's the West. What's in the West? A lot of things are in the West. What's happening? Come on. But only good things can come out of the West, hopefully.
Well, let's talk about young Mason.
Yes.
Starting the rebellion. Same time, same place type of deal, meeting up, and but not this time.
Nope.
They're kind of onto him.
But don't forget, he didn't go solo. He went with his lover, his new love interest.
That was a sweet kiss.
That was
just to kind of take it from the more, take it down from the serious side of things.
Did you find it a really funny transition that they went from the kiss, holding hands, and then they went to an empty room with all these beds? Or did my
I don't
mind
think
just
like
go?
that. I don't think like that.
I will keep
my mind was
out
on
of the gutter.
meeting. My mind was on the meeting.
This is an interesting place for a meeting. You would think that would not be the most secure place for a meeting. What are you guys doing here?
That's why it ultimately didn't make sense. And by the way, I loved team leader's line. They're all team leaders.
Yeah.
I love this line. Because of your exceptionalness, I will be watching you.
Yeah.
So a great subtext there of like, hey, I know what you're up to.
Exactly. Do you think that note, if he had found that note on Matt, that would have caused bigger issues? Or do you think Matt could have just left that paper on the ground and just ran away? Or kept doing what he was doing?
I think the fact that I think he wanted to catch more of them. And so had it been at least maybe the two of them, then, but you know what I mean? It's like with the Skitter. You don't want to kill something until you get the information out.
True, and team leader did ask, what was her name? I wrote it down. Sheila, who's graduating, what are you going to do when you find your mother? I'm going to go back to where they're hiding. And then what? And then I will call you guys in, basically.
Yeah, so we basically know the plan. We know the plan of...
To recon, yeah.
Which is a clever plan, They've got them so brainwashed. What is it? Find them, raise the alarm, and then help them. Because we love them.
Yes,
That's
because
great.
we love them. Your mother really loves you. It's so creepy when that team leader guy talks. I swear.
I mean, he's basically soulless, right? He doesn't have his free will anymore.
That's a good point. That explains a lot. I didn't tie that in from what was said on the ship about the...
Just has to be. I mean, right?
Yeah, because there's no emotion except for that. That makes sense. Huh.
Like there's honestly, there's no one in the world, although I've been wrong, the world continues to amaze me every single day. But there's no one in the world that can be that easily fooled, despite Nazi Hitler youth camp.
No, that I didn't even tie that in that his free will might be gone. That's a really good point.
So there you have it.
I guess we'll learn more about that camp and what happens when you become a team leader and when you graduate.
Is there more to the camp, though? Is the only sole purpose to literally brainwash the kids in order to find the adults so we can find team leaders for the Ishveni?
Well, I think
such as a Tom Mason.
I think it leads back to your whole trying to find the leaders of the group. So Matt would be one, and if Matt were to...
But Matt's young.
He is, but if they were to show potential of free will, like great free will and influence of people, kind of like what they're trying to do with Tom, then they could get rid of their free will and have them in control, or use them as leaders and influence.
Why not just take away their free will? Is it because they're kids? Like, how does that work?
Maybe they have to ripen them. Wait until they're ready, and not just little zombies. I don't know.
Fair enough. I mean, I think the main reason is because they have to have that affection towards their families, and if you take away free will, I don't think that's there, and they wouldn't really look for the families.
Because even Tom, when he was on the ship, one of the comments was, "I will take your family away from you."
Yeah. And
that got Tom riled up. So yeah, so maybe the whole family has a huge thing to do with that.
Free will and family, the two F's of life. Anything else you want to talk about this particular storyline? It's interesting to see where it's going, certainly.
I love that Matt protected his new love interest, but I feel she's going to be taken away. Because even though he said, there's nothing against holding hands, they haven't said anything bad about that, I feel that's more free will, and they're gonna take that away from her. And she's going to be brainwashed, and the next time he sees her, he's going to be like, what? Where are you? Remember our holding hands and the kiss?
Yeah,
it was a kiss of death.
I think I'd agree with you. Anytime you have to question a rule, probably means you shouldn't do it. That's just
Yeah.
a life thing.
That's
Like,
true.
hey, should I steal this? Like, probably answers. If you have to ask, the answer's probably no.
Yeah.
Um,
So back to the what were you guys calling it last week? The
what were we talking?
where Tom's at? The ghetto.
The ghetto. That's
They're back. Yeah.
That's what they call it. I wasn't calling it that. It was the ghetto.
Yeah. Well, they didn't call it the ghetto in this episode. But I mean, no, I remember it from last week. But I'm just saying. So we're back at the ghetto. That was my
We're
little
back at the ghetto.
man.
We got to get Ghost. Because Ghost could be a great leader for all of us. He's a great sign of hope. I like the little reference to the Dark Knight where we have imposter ghosts.
Thank you. I wrote that down too. I was like, oh my gosh, the Dark Knight. But P.S. Did you notice the lady with the baby was trying to whack the Hornet with her baby at one point? When they showed the Hornet, they showed her going like this. It looked like she was. I'm like, don't use your baby as a weapon. Did you not see that?
Okay, to be fair,
I like to notice
maybe
random
she was
things.
using her forearm. Because, I mean, you can't really put down the baby. And so you're holding the baby securely. And you're using your outer, arm, whatever this is.
Or she could have used the other arm and used the beans and swiped at it with the beans instead of the forearm with the baby. I'm just saying, bad mothering there, okay?
Horrible parenting aside, I think there's bigger things to worry about in this storyline. I want to start with Pope and Weaver. No matter what, these guys always kind of end up together, and for better or worse, they rely on each other for whatever they need to get done. And we find out Pope right now is a fake.
Yep. He only had 8 cans.
Of beans.
Mm-hmm. And
Hey, man, beans are good, so who cares?
I can't believe Alex, that whole scene when they were trying to fight, he had the knife scene. Remind me of West Side Story. Oh, West, hey. With the Jets, and they're like, I'm going to get you because I have a knife. That whole scene was, I kind of giggled because that was kind of funny. But I liked how Pope and Weaver got back together, as you were saying, working together. Kind of what I was saying last week, kind of. Sort of.
Okay, except you're wrong in the sense that you
So
thought
wrong.
you thought Pope had a plethora of supplies, and he's got 8 cans of beans, and that's it, and a TV with Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, I was really wrong. Really wrong. And that Pope was in it with Tom. He wasn't in it with Tom. I mean, it still could be revealed that he is working with Tom secretly, but he's definitely not.
Definitely not.
But now they are.
Well, now they have, again, because through their anger and hatred towards each other, they always manage to actually work together and find the greater good. And that they did. And all things are coming together for everyone involved. They have a piece of the puzzle in terms of how to escape.
Yes. But if you ask Weaver, Weaver's going to disagree that he's working with Pope, no matter what, even if it's for the better kind. Love that.
I thought the way out of the camp, the ghetto, I thought that was brilliant. Copper. It all makes sense.
Yeah. That was a really interesting,
Method.
Yeah. How come no one else? That's, yeah.
Because he's not a physicist. He's an electrical something.
Electric lineman.
Electric lineman.
Mm-hmm. Faraday suit.
I thought that was, that's really cool. I mean, again, so you have Weaver and Pope's little piece of the puzzle. You have South African Johannesburg guy, his little piece of the puzzle of copper. But as Tom says, hey, the goal is to get everybody out. And then apparently there's one big kind of unplug button. Yeah. So we just need to get one guy out. We need a diversion, and then we unplug it, and we're good to go.
Yeah. Kind of makes me wonder what's going to happen when they find out that it's just unplugged, and then they plug it back in as they're trying to escape.
Well, that's where Tom comes in. It's like someone's going to have to sacrifice themselves in this regard.
Do you think? I think it might be Pope in that case.
Pope's never going to sacrifice.
You don't think so?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a B character that we may or may not know yet.
Okay. That's true. I could see that.
I mean, they just for the greater good. We can't lose an A character right now. We're only 2 episodes into season 4. We can't lose Pope, especially to an outlet. Come on.
That's true. And this isn't the series finale or series So
or season.
Season finale,
If it was
yeah.
the season finale, perhaps, but come on, Pope can't die from an electrical outlet.
That's true.
I thought it was interesting how they went after Ghost. I mean, obviously it turned out, in terms of if you're the Ishveni, it's kind of cool that it is Tom because Tom is so influential. But even if it wasn't, you're getting the Ghost who is influential.
Was this storyline repetitive for you, though?
Repetitive in what sense?
That there's a bigger creature coming to fight on planet Earth, and they need to ally with them.
Well, they don't need to ally with them. They're just using them. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not dogging on the whole concept because obviously there's a storyline. You got to keep it moving forward, and sometimes you kind of got to do the same stuff. But as you're saying earlier with Lexi and Ben being harnessed or Maggie being possessed, do you think that's kind of a repetitive thing? What about this storyline?
I mean, it's not that it's repetitive, but for better or worse, there's a frustration in me because and it's a good frustration. I think this is what the show ultimately wants to display is like, how do you tell the good guys from the bad guys?
Yeah.
It's not like World War where like, okay, you have a difference of opinion about something, and for better or worse, right? Let's talk about World War II. The Japanese and the Nazis believed in something that was their perspective versus ours and Russia's and whatever, England's, and we fought, and we knew the people that believed this were on this side, the people that believed this were on the other side. Whereas this, it's like, okay, we got the Volm, and they're saying something, and they got stuff going on, and they left us because they got bigger stuff going on, except Cochise because he's our boy. And then we have the Ishveni, and now, the Ishveni are still evil because they want to take away free will because they need soldiers. But it's like, okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, are they really that evil? Who's the evil one?
Who?
So, again, from a science fiction standpoint, it's a great question. But for me, it's good, but it's still frustrating because I'm like, okay, well, I just want one clear bad guy.
No, for sure. I agree. I think any writing that gets you riled up or anything gets your head going is a great writing. Regardless of if it's repetitive or not, it still gets your mind like, and you feel for the characters and you feel for it. So I agree. Just depends.
But I mean, ultimately, did you have a slight turn for the Ishveni and we're like, well, maybe they're not so bad?
I did, but I felt more for the Skitter that was being stabbed by Anne than I did for the Ishveni.
Okay, but so let's then talk about, we kind of been touching upon it, but the goal is to just basically amass soldiers. And we're going to lead those who lead others. But in order to do so, we're going to take away their free will.
No, I still think Ishveni should not be on planet Earth. I think they are still the bad guys. And regardless of whatever that bigger creature that's coming to them, we can deal with it when we cross that bridge, as Tom said in the episode.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny line.
But I definitely think Ishveni, like, even if they destroy the bigger boss, they're going to just turn around and kill everybody else and take control. They're not going to leave planet Earth unless they get killed or overrun.
Well, I don't think they need to take over planet Earth if most of the people have no free will of their own.
But it's not their people. The Ishveni will come over and do their own stuff. Have their own families come. Because I guarantee there's probably a whole backstory that their family, their people were destroyed by whoever this bigger boss is. And
that's really, I'd like to know, call it the Superman effect. But I want to know what's going on Krypton, so to speak. You get what I'm saying?
No, I do.
I want to know. And again, I think it's a very deliberate decision on the show to not let us know of, like, I mean, in many ways, it's kind of realistic. Like, hey, if an alien invasion did come, they probably wouldn't tell us much about the backstory of why the hell they're here.
Part of me just doesn't want to know their backstory because I don't want to feel for them because of all the anger that they brought on all the seasons. That's all. It's easier to hate them than to root for them.
But it certainly makes it more interesting when when a person you've hated, especially for, now we're at, let's say by episode 3, and all of a sudden there's a shift of like where they're kind of becoming humanized in their own right, then it becomes more interesting of like, because you're torn as an audience member.
Yeah, I just hate that feeling. I don't want it, Phil. I don't want it. I like it when it's black and white, okay?
Hey, no one wants it more black and white than me, ultimately.
Just kill them.
But there was that line where Tom says, you don't even know this person's name, and they said, it's not important. No, it is important. I found that to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if there's a way to get the people back.
Well, look at Lourdes. I don't think there's a way to get them back. Once they've crossed that line, I don't think there's a way to get them back. I know this is all my theory about Lourdes, but still.
I feel like it's possession, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get possessed by an entity, so I've heard, it's in you, but you're still there. And so you just need to be rid of the possession. And then when you're free, you're free.
But to get rid of that possession, you have to get rid of the source from that possession. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So they'd have to get rid of this Benny.
I mean, I think there's a
Kinda
more
like,
indirect. I think that's an indirect link. I think there's something more direct that you can get rid of to get rid of that. Although, if they are literally taking someone's free will,
yeah.
I don't know if you can get that back. Like, if you're putting possession into something to take control of them,
mm-hmm.
that's one thing. If you're literally taking away something, I don't know how you can gain that back unless there's some weird Gaia theory of souls that you're going to then draw from and put back into.
It's true. It's no Sims. You can't control them.
So, I don't know.
You're like, where's Nando? Where is he? This chick over here with X-Men and can't quote Star Wars properly and talking about the Sims.
My goodness. What else is left to talk about?
What about Hal stepping up for Tom if Tom's gone?
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's always kind of been that way.
But now it's officially said. Do you feel that that was necessary, or do you think maybe that's a foreshadow of any kind?
I don't know. I don't think it's I think it's a foreshadow because Hal will need to step up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that means that we've signed Tom's death warrant by any means. I think we're fine with that. But yeah, I do like Hal stepping into this role, and I think he's capable of it. And it's nice when a father does. A lot of father-sons have bad relationships, or sometimes they don't always say what they mean. And so, when Hal gets Tom's vote of confidence, it means something. And I think Hal's going to carry that.
Yeah, I hope so. Because that means Hal will keep going. What else happened? I feel like there's one more big thing that happened right at the end.
Not at the end. I mean, the end was
Lexi.
Yeah.
And Ben. Okay. I mean, do you have anything else to add?
I'm sure there's a few things that we could expand on. I don't think we missed anything of absolute importance. I mean, I know we didn't necessarily talk about the meeting per se, with quote unquote Ghost and the person, but Tom gets what he needs out of that, and the plan is forming. Go ahead.
That whole scene, do you think it was a little weird that they just left Tom right there to look at everything? Do you think maybe that they set that up? Because that was a little bit weird. To have, hey, this is our plan. This is how you do this. And that's how you do that. Oh, you want to take notes? Take mental notes about that, Tom. You're a leader. You know what you're doing. And is this chess? Are they playing chess? Is that what they're trying to do?
I think they're playing. I mean, they've always been playing chess. I think.
And by they, I mean Esfeni, not Tom.
As I get to know the Esfeni, I think time for them is completely measured different in the sense that whereas they've been looking at this war in hundreds of years time span, the humans thus far have been fighting for their lives, and we've been at this for a couple of years, but we also look at it from an hour to hour because we're starving type of deal.
Yeah.
And so I found that interesting to know because this kind of game plan for the Esfeni has been a multi-year process, and it's like, okay, this is it. And if a tactic doesn't work immediately, it's all just part of the 10-year plan or whatever. You know what I mean? And we'll switch it. So I found that interesting.
Okay.
In terms of how they just left him, I don't know. We'll certainly see if that was part of their plan or not.
Because he literally like pieced out like he was about to go to the bathroom or something. Like,
Well, he says he made a deal.
yeah.
So I don't. He made a deal that no one would riot. Now, what that means, I mean, I don't think. So
I'm just saying, the last time Tom was on a spaceship, when he went up on his own free will, wasn't that in season 1 at the very end when he gets onto the ship, and they cleared his mind and he couldn't remember much of what happened. He kept remembering it when he was asleep in season 2. So why would they let him go away? Obviously, I know he said to do the leading, to be the leader of the, but if they know,
because they gave him a choice. They gave him a choice of
it's just fishy, man.
But they know who Ghost is, so they know that. They don't need. And it remains to be, I don't know. It's all coming to a head next week.
Fishy.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I'm genuinely excited for next week. I didn't expect by episode 3, if they truly are teasing it in the proper way, that it all comes to a head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we're gonna get the band back together, so to speak. But a lot's gonna happen, and I think Anne is gonna meet up with the Nazi youth camp.
Yeah.
And I think and you know, I do buy. You know what? Maybe even before that, I buy your theory about Cochise. Maybe them and Cochise meet up.
Okay.
And it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Tom's group. And I think Hal, no, not Hal. With Lexi's group with Sarah, I think there's gonna be Sarah Carter.
Yeah.
Maggie. There's gonna be a lot that happens there. Although I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna be the last group to kind of get involved with everybody else.
I agree, because we saw in the season like promo that Maggie and Ben gets a kissing, and we didn't see that in the next one, in the promo for next week. So, but we do see Maggie with a gun, and to me, I don't see when I saw that, they took away my whole. Well, maybe Maggie's behind it all. Maybe she's a conspiracy person. Maybe she's the one holding the camp together, and she's brainwashed. But then the gun, it's an old Maggie trick. So I didn't really know what to think of that. All I know is that they still have more days in the camp before the rest of the group find them. And that's when Matt and Maggie are going to get together for sure. And I know that there's going to be some nice little bow chicken wow wow between them. And I honestly, I'm just going to kind of go off of a really random theory. But you know the whole entity of 3 that keeps coming up? What if that is really Matt, Ben, and Hal? They are the 3 that I know they've been on Earth for a long time, and maybe it's not them, but maybe they are the key to stopping it, which means maybe something will happen to Tom. Just gonna throw that out there. That's a really bad theory. I know people are gonna hate me for saying that.
I mean, you know,
I like to be wild.
Ultimately, while Tom has been a linchpin of the show, he's not beyond death.
And
so,
what?
and if he's going all, you know, it's interesting that he went along the theory of like quote unquote ghost. First off, that's symbolic in itself that Tom is the ghost. Because does that mean that Tom is going to die, therefore he is quote unquote a ghost? Also, ghost implies that your spirit lives on. So, you know, we did get a passing of the torch slightly today.
Yeah.
In the Dark Knight Rises theory, as we'll just continue to call it, other people can take up the mantle, and so, you know, someone else can be ghost and can be the leader.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting
stuff.
Throwing it out there, you know. One more thing. I do believe Lexi. Do you think the guy she was talking to was a good one, as Fenny, or a bad one?
I thought it was a bad one. They're all bad.
I mean, because it's not the same one that Tom was talking to, because weren't they supposed to be like same time frame talking to each other?
Yeah, I don't think it was the same one.
So
they all look alike to me.
And he hooded
That's
himself.
very a Svenny-esque.
Yeah.
But
jeez, Phil, how dare you? They have names too, okay? Don't you want to learn their names?
Nope, not at all. I can barely pronounce the Svenny. Anyway, where can the people find you to talk crazy theories?
Guys, you can talk crazy theories and correct me on Star Wars stuff if you'd like on Twitter and Instagram at HeyRoya. That's HeyRoya. Phil, where can they find you?
Follow us here at AfterBuzz TV, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And yeah, let us know your comments, your opinions. We'll be back with full force with Nando. I don't know if there is an episode next week, although I think there is, even though it is July 4th weekend. But either way, we'll be back for the next episode. That does happen.
Cool, thanks,
See you next
guys.
time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.